That's kind of weird. I don't hate it though. Welcome to a new year of videos. This channel is now just finished its second year of being my full-time job, which is exciting. Plus, more exciting news, 2020 is the last year that we will be making videos in this space, at least the whole year. If you didn't see the video, we're about 5 months out from finishing my dream YouTube studio, recording studio, stream studio, and really it's entirely thanks to you guys watching the videos and of course using Streambeats. Streambeats probably the biggest factor. Actually, I know looking at the books, definitely the biggest factor. Seriously, it's hitting about 1 million streams on Spotify a day with peak concurrent listenership at about 5,000 listeners. So if you're looking for copyright-free music to use in your streams or your YouTube videos, I'll put those in the links in the description down below. And keep an eye out for 2 releases a month, 2 new albums released every single month this entire year. Should be a fun year. But here we are again with another Ask Harris video. I haven't really done one in a while, but I really enjoy these. I'd like to make them more consistent. But let's just jump into these videos right after I thank the sponsor of today's video, Owned.tv. Owned is your one-stop shop for all your stream aesthetic needs, whether it be overlays or panels or profile pictures or alerts, any of the things you need. Plus, all the overlays are modular. So for example, if you pick the Alpha Gaming overlay that you're looking at right now, which by the way, not a coincidence, made in conjunction with this channel. None of you guys are gonna have the exact same overlay because you can pick and choose different pieces, different assets to kind of make it your own. So if you'd like to make the smart move like many from the community have done and pick it up yourself, feel free to use the link in the description below, which by the way, that link does help support the channel, so thank you. And if you'd like 40% at checkout, make sure you use code ALPHA when you buy. First question.
With the way Twitch has been behaving lately, do you think we'll still be on Twitch say in the next couple of years, or do you think we'll all be on YouTube?
Man, remember when this was the question everybody had when Ninja moved to Mixer? And then here we all are, still on Twitch. I think we all learned something from the Mixer situation. It is very difficult to change what the main streaming platform is. I mean, in order to get the live streaming audience to watch primarily on YouTube, the majority of large streamers have to move over to YouTube. And moving to a new platform always takes a hit in your viewership. It always takes a hit in your income, and convincing all the large streamers to do that, it's gonna be rough. However, YouTube is definitely much more prepared for that kind of audience than Mixer was. And I think if they can add a couple more features to make the viewer and the streamer experience a little bit better this year, which looks like they're planning on doing, I think they could soften that blow that a lot of streamers are afraid of. But when it comes to the mistakes that a lot of people talk about Twitch is making in terms of its moderation, in terms of its words you can and cannot use, whatever you want to call that, I think the mistake Twitch is making isn't that they're handling that poorly, but that they are solely focusing on that. At the end of the day, the reason people stream on Twitch is because it's the most viable place to make a career streaming. And while those things are definitely important, I feel like Twitch is letting that be their entire focus while YouTube is over here making massive plays to make streaming on YouTube a much more engaging option. So I think one of the things that's going to kill Twitch isn't that they're not handling the moderation properly. I think they're trying. I think they're making improvements, but that they're letting it completely be their sole focus when they do need to focus on upgrading the discoverability and the browsability, the actual functionality that streamers need. So we'll see how they handle that in 2021.
Thank you for making Streambeats. Hey, I'm Tyler from Creator Studio, and I find it funny that the internet has been so starved of royalty-free music for so long. And I just wanted to know, why do you think traditional record labels have been so slow to adapt to the internet era?
I have a theory, and it is just a theory, because to you and I, it seems obvious that the record label should come up with an option to create some kind of broadcaster license so that we can actually pay to use music. There's obviously a huge business here. I'm taking advantage of that. But if I had to guess why they're fighting it so hard, I would say it's because 10 years ago, they did the exact same thing to YouTube. They started smacking it with DMCA takedowns. And what ended up happening is YouTube caved and created this entire content ID system so that if you play less than a second of someone's song, the record label takes all the ad revenue from the entire video, and they have made over the last 10 years billions of dollars off of YouTube's content ID system. And I think they're hoping that if they can hit the live streaming game with the same tactic, they'll somehow make billions off of it. And they they tend to be a little bit clueless about how the internet works. I don't think they realize that there's just not a lot of money in ad revenue in live streaming. Like there's like none. Plus, when I stream, I don't play one song. I play 5 hours of music in the background. What are they going to do? Split $100 between 5 hours of record label owned songs? There's just really no money to be made there. And I think they're just making it clear how little they understand the internet, and it will eventually be their downfall. At least we can hope.
Hey Harris, I struggle with delayed gratification, and so how would you recommend getting myself motivated to turn all the ideas in my notebook into actual YouTube videos and content beyond streaming?
I don't fully understand what struggling with delayed gratification means, and I don't want to pretend like I do. However, if it's anything like it sounds like, it's important to know that a YouTube career is an entire career based on delayed gratification. I mean, I made my first YouTube video in my freshman dorm room in 2006, and I didn't make a single dollar off YouTube until 2014, and I made music videos that entire 8 years. And then that only lasted about a year, and then there was another 3 or 4 years of making no money until this channel finally took off 2 years ago. So if you are in any way accustomed to delayed gratification, honestly, you might be one of the best prepared for a career in YouTube because you expect not to get anything in return for so long. But often new creators don't recognize that there are going to be years of working for free before that finally happens, if it ever happens.
So I have 7 different YouTube channels, and so I'm wondering, how should I be managing my time for all those? Or should I just be focusing all of my energy into one channel?
Yeah, delete 6 of those. But for real, focus on one. There's a good Ron Swanson quote about this.
Never half two things. Whole one thing.
Plug my stream, www.twitch.tv/Kings and Heroes.
You just did.
Or, if that's not acceptable, what is your favorite 4 chords to play? Have a great day.
You only need 2 chords. You need a D5 and an E flat 5. Everybody knows that.
Would you ever sign someone to send by records?
Someday. Someday.
Long-time listener, first-time video caller. My question I get to a lot, which is people ask what hardware you have to start streaming, and you have so much hardware, you have everything you probably want, but if you could like break it down to bare bones and someone has pretty much nothing, what would you say you have to have so that you can start streaming? Thanks. Oh, second question. A train is going 50 miles per hour and it has 5,000 pounds of corn in the back. How long does it take to get to Philadelphia? Thanks.
Okay, Mary, 5,000 pounds of corn is it's not a lot of corn. I don't think you need a train for that. You could probably just get like a pickup truck and be just fine. I actually did the research earlier. A train car can hold like 140 something thousand pounds of stuff. So you're really going overkill with getting a whole train for that. But in terms of gear, I think there's an interesting balance there. And I think the vast majority of streamers err on the side of spending too much on gear, hoping that it will push their career forward. And for the most part, I don't think it's necessary. Just looking at growth on Twitch strategically, because very little growth itself comes from streaming on Twitch, it mostly comes from content elsewhere on more discoverable platforms like YouTube. I'm a broken record, I say that all the time. You can make quality content for free. And we'll put free in quotes because your phone's not free, but you probably already have one. You don't need to spend any extra money. You can shoot a video on your phone. It's got a great microphone. It's got a great camera. You can edit it in DaVinci Resolve or iMovie completely for free, and you can post it. And if it's good, it'll work. It'll gather people and bring those people over to your Twitch channel. And at the end of the day, if you're making good content over there and people grow to like you on your videos, it is a little bit harder to stream without things like lights and microphones that you don't need for a YouTube video. But if you've already built an audience, they won't care as much. So if you do it right and you focus on learning skills like filming, editing, storytelling, you can realistically build a career without buying any gear at all. When you go to stream, you will have a little bit of a lower quality stream. You can use your phone as the camera. I've done a whole video on that. You can use your headset mic, which won't sound great, but they will be here from your YouTube videos, so it won't really matter. I would encourage anybody on a low budget to completely go that route. Absolutely. In fact, we should do that in like the next video this week. Just like make a cheap streaming build. Next video. Let's do it. Subscribe.
Hi Harris, I'm wondering what your personal opinion is on how someone's physical body type affects their viewership. So whether they're skinny or they're plump.
Yeah, I almost didn't mark this one to talk about. It is a difficult one to talk about. And I don't even know how to address this without sounding totally narcissistic, but it's hard for, I like to use the term, someone with attractive parents to address this without sounding completely narcissistic. While of course I've only seen it from one perspective, and so my voice is probably not the most important one to hear on this, the way I've recognized social media and success on there and the variety of people that succeed is that I believe it takes, let's say 2 to 3 unique skills for someone to stand out on the internet on average. And I use the word skill loosely. It can be a talent, it can be something you're born with, it can be something you develop over time, but 2 to 3 things that make you different than other people, and people start to take notice. And one of those things can be attractiveness. There's no denying that people are attracted to attractive people. That's what the word means, and that can be a big help, but that's only going to be one of the 3. One of my least favorite comments is, if you want to grow on Twitch, be a pretty girl. Have you seen how many pretty girls there are with 5 viewers? Because that's all they've got, at least in their internet persona. So objectively, yes, it will be a tiny bit more difficult because some people have one of those 3 things already filled in by the way they're born. Some people need to develop 3 additional skills. But there are incredible people who the world would probably not consider attractive, who have done amazing things on the internet because of the things they've done and the things they've said and the skills that they've developed. And I believe there is a place for everybody. And not to mention Twitch or social media as a whole is full of different levels of attractive people that are all looking for someone that they can look up to, someone that they connect with. And I mean, there's always an audience for any type of person. I feel like that was a very wordy way of saying yes and no. So let's move on. I hope I did well on that one. That's a hard one.
Hey Harris, if weight equals mass times acceleration, at what point did you know you'd made it? Like, this was what was going to be your job and it was going to work. At what point did you know that?
It's weight times gravity or accelerative force of the body of mass that you are attracted to. But there are 2 completely different questions in there. At what point did I know I made it? And at what point did I know it was my career and I could do it for a living? Let's hit that first one first, because I think it's a big misconception with a lot of people. I believe making it is when you feel like you've gone as far as you want to go, right? And that's a completely personal decision. And I would venture to say that this year, 2021, with all the things I've talked about, the new studio, getting a dog, so excited about getting a dog. I feel like this year is the year where I can finally start. I feel like the last 2 years have been preparation for me to finally start running through this year as we build things and as we are finally able to do the things that we've wanted to do for so long. So I don't believe I've made it. In fact, I feel like I'm just starting, and I'm very excited for what the future holds, especially with Senpai Records. But in terms of when I knew that this was my career and I could do this for a living, there was a specific point where I didn't know it, but I knew I had an opportunity that I couldn't give up. And it was when I was working on social media as a freelancer for other people at the times after my music career that I mentioned before had ended. And I was making these videos twice a week, generally getting about 1,000 views in the first 24 hours, which is a great start, but it's not enough to pay the bills. And I posted one video. It was why Twitch growth is almost impossible. And the next morning I woke up and it had gotten 10,000 views in the first 24 hours, 10 times the amount of what my previous videos had ever done. I saw my subscriber numbers skyrocket. I saw my viewership numbers skyrocket. People were watching old videos. And that day I told the people that I was freelancing for that I had to stop and I needed to focus on this because I saw that this was an opportunity that I needed to capitalize on. And I started going full-time that day. And I didn't make a lot of money for quite a bit. I actually lost for the next couple months. I had lower income, but I was able to use that momentum to turn it into what it is now. And yeah, that's I thought there was more to it, but I think that's the whole story. Cool story, Hansel.
Hey Harris, how would you recommend building on your personality as a content creator to help make people gain an interest in you?
I think this is a big fault of social media, that most of the content we enjoy are the things that we say. For example, Twitter is entirely words. Twitch content is usually just chatting and it's talking to the camera, and not enough about it is what we do. I think a lot of people assume that if they want to grow on social media, they have to be a more interesting talker. Instead of asking yourself, how can you seem more interesting? How can you sound more interesting? I think more people need to be asking themselves, what can I do to actually be more interesting? What skills can I learn? What things can I accomplish? And don't get me wrong, there is exceptional value to learning charisma and learning how to talk to people and having confidence in yourself. But I've found that most of the time, true charisma tends to come out of a person when they are genuinely impressed with themselves. So that's what I'd recommend. Stop worrying about looking interesting and decide some things that you want to do. Learn a new language, learn a new skill, develop a new style of YouTube video that nobody's done before. Then you don't have to convince people you're interesting, but you just will be. Sorry, I turned that really small question into a very large answer. I hope that's okay. By the way, we got over 200 questions for this, and there's no way I was going to be able to answer all of them. So in the next couple streams, we'll spend some time going through the rest of them, some of the stuff we missed, and we'll talk about those. So if you didn't get your questions answered, come and join my chat. If you have questions of yourself, come hang out with me. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. I spend a lot of time in just chatting, talking about this kind of stuff. I genuinely enjoy the conversation. So I love you guys. And as always, happy streaming.